All right, last time we met, we did a couple things. We talked about functions. And remember, a function is where you have a command like print, and those come along with parentheses, and you put something in the parentheses to make it do some work for you. So we can put in some words. The word needs to be in quotes in order to work correctly. We've set up some variables. So we set up three variables. We set up greeting and name, which are both string variables. That means they're kind of a string of letters. They're treated as a word. They're not treated as anything else. And then cookies, which is an integer variable, which is treated as a number. And there's a couple of things that I want to demonstrate here with that. We did talk a little bit about like print, 10, here, I'm going to put this at the end here. Print 10 plus 15. So this should give me 25 when I run this variable at the end, right? But if I put in quotes here, and I say treat these like words rather than like numbers, that's what the quotes represent. They say this is a string, which means it's going to be treated as a word. It says 10, 15 rather than 25. So whether you have a string or whether you have a number, that matters. And you have to think about what it is that you want. And that's why when we did the I have cookies here, I could just print cookies. If I run that, it'll print 100, right? If I put cookies plus 10, it'll print 110 because it's treating it, sees this as a number and this is a number, so I can put them together, no problem. But I can't put them together if I have different types, different data types. So this is a integer, this is a I have, and cookies, these are strings, and I can't put a string together with an integer without converting something. So in this case, I'm converting the cookies to a string, and I'm using that string function, right? So we get these. These are the two functions that we talked about last time. I can also do some other things. Let's say we have a certain number of people. We have 100 cookies. If we create a variable, let's say num of people. So how many people are in the room? Well, maybe there's 10 of us. Let's say 15 of us. There's 15 people in the room. I have 100 cookies. So maybe I want to, I wonder if this is going to crash with that string. No, this is fine. Maybe I want to have it say how many cookies each of us have, or each of us could have if we're going to split them. So I could say print. So what I want is we can each have amount cookies. So I want to say, I don't want to say amount cookies, right? I want this to say, we can each have a certain number of cookies. It could be, it should be 100 in this case divided by 15, right? So we want to break these up into strings, two separate strings with spaces kind of between them because we want to have a space here and a space here when this prints. And then we want to add to this kind of a math equation. So we could say cookies divided by 11. Now this is going to cause the same error that we got before. Or sorry, by not 11, num of people, right? So this is going to be 100 cookies divided by 15 people. Now this is going to give us an error, just like it did when we did this print on line 10, because it's not treating it as a string, it's treating it as an integer. So we have to tell it, hey, we want to make this a string. So if I have 100 cookies and there are 15 15 of us, we can each have 6.666667 cookies. If there are 20 of us, we can each have 5 cookies. So this changes. If I have 200 cookies and there are 20 of us, we can each have 10 cookies. So we can set this up so that we have different values, and that kind of lets us adapt this. We could also, instead of putting cookies divided by number of people here, we could also have a variable to hold the total. So we could say total equals cookies divided by num of people. And that way, we don't have to do the math here. We can just say total. So I can run this, and we can each now have 10 cookies. And that doesn't change the functionality. If there's 20 people and 40 cookies, we can each have 2 cookies. That just puts it in a place where we're messing with a variable. We still have to convert that since these are both numbers. It works fine, and this becomes a number. We just have to convert that type to a string when we put it into the print. So we're going to, by the way, you don't have to convert the type if it's the same type already. So I can take name and I can put name together with a string because this is a string and this part is a string and name is a string. That's what we're storing there. So no trouble, no problem. I don't have to do this conversion. But if same way, if I do cookies divided by number of people, this is a number, so no problem. But if this is a string and total is a number or cookies is a number, then I have to convert it. So we're gonna save this, and we're gonna make a copy. So what a copy is it's just going to give us 2 of the same program. So we want to leave that alone. Sometimes you want to really change your program a lot, and you kind of want a point where you can go back if you need to. So we're just going to save this. We're going to kind of start something new. We're going to get rid of the greeting. Yeah, let's get rid of this stuff. And I can get rid of this print down here and this string, although I want to have kind of a running tally of which of your functions which of the built-in functions and I don't want them to affect my program. So what we can do is we can use a comment, and a comment is a hashtag. So if I put hashtag before these things, or basically hashtag before anything in a line, the program will ignore it. So if I hit run, it does this stuff and ignores 13, 14, and 15 because they all have hashtags at the beginning of those lines. If I get rid of the hashtag and try to run it, I'm going to get an error message because it has no idea what this nonsense is. So sometimes you want to leave comments for yourself, like this is the end of the program. So that means something to us, but it doesn't mean something to the computer. So you want to just have that be for us. And this is going to be these are the functions that I know. Break up our program into some different sections here. In this case, we're going to do some new things. We're going to get user input. So this is whoever's using my program. We're going to get some data from them. We're going to get some parameters from them, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to say hashtag do some math and give some output. So input is what we're getting from the user. Output is what we're spitting back at the user. And then I have just a list of the functions that we know, and then I have the end of the program. So if I want to get input from the user, I can do that with a function called input. So this is just going to say, this is going to take a string, so we can basically ask the user for whatever we want. So we can say, what is your name? Question mark. And then if I run this, you can see it doesn't do this other stuff that we had before. We just have, what is your name? So I can put in Mr. V. That's me. And I hit enter, and it goes on to the last part of the program. Now, I'm getting this input, but I'm not doing anything with it. So in order to do something with it, I need to store it in a variable. So we can do that. We've done that before. We did name equals Mr. Vanek like this. And this is storing the string Mr. Vanek in this variable called name. We want to store whatever we're given by the person that's running your program. So instead of name equals Mr. Vanek, we're saying name equals input, what is your name? And then we want to do a test to see whether that worked. So we just want to say print name, right? So it should spit back whatever I type in. So if I type in Mr. Whoop, I got to do it on this side. If I type in Mr. V and I hit enter, it spits back Mr. V. That's kind of boring. Let's do quote and let's say hi. In fact, pause the video here and I want you to say hi there, Mr. V. Just using the name, or hi there, whatever the user puts in. So if you put your own name, it would be that. If your friend next to you types in their name, it should say hi there and then their name. So take a minute, pause the video right here and do that. Okay, we're back. I hope you've done that. So I just want to show you how to accomplish that. You do a quote, hi there, comma, quote, plus name. So if I run this and I say my name is MV, no, I got to be on the other side. My name is MV. It says, hi there, MV. If I run it and I say my name is, every time, my name is nonsense letters, and hit enter, it'll say, hi there, nonsense letters. So we're grabbing that, whatever we're typing, we're storing it in name, that's name equals, and then we're using that later. So for the end of this sort of section, I want you to get input from people who say cookies. We're going to take out this total for now because that's going to cause an error. So I'm just going to put a hashtag on the total and a hashtag, and a hashtag here. I'm going to show you how to solve that error later, but I want you to ask using the input how many cookies you want. Instead of just assigning cookies here, I want you to ask the user how many cookies they have. And then it should spit back how many cookies they have. Again, pause the video. Okay, hopefully you're back. So this is going to just say we're going to change the 40 to input. How many cookies do you have? Question mark, right? And then if we run this, my name is MV. Nope. Every time. I'll get used to it. How many cookies do I have? 200. I have 200 cookies. Now, we also want to ask how many people are there. So we'll say input. How many people are there with you? question mark. And this will work. We can test that it works by just printing, not printing, print num of people. And run that. So my name is Mr. V. How many cookies do I have? 200. How many people are there with you? 11. And it just says I have 200 cookies. But I want to demonstrate this error that's going to pop up here. If I run this now, MV, I have 200 cookies. How many people are there with me? 11. Well, I have a problem in that I can't divide a string and a string. So we're seeing that this is a operator, an operand type. So if I put plus here, right, well, this will actually work. So if I run this, I have 200 cookies. And how many people are there with me? 11. Oh, let's print the total. If I run this, MV, 200 cookies, 11 people. It says 20,011 people. And that's not right. It should be 200 plus 11, so it should be 211. And it's just mashing these two things together. So we have the same situation that we had when we were printing 10 in plus 25 in quotes, right? It's doing this. It's thinking that the input that we're getting is a string and not a number. So we have to say this is not a number. This is an integer. We have to let this know. Now we can let this know in a couple different places. We can say int here, int cookies, and int number of people. But I think it's easier to say that these things are integers when we come in. So we're going to use an int function. Let me add these down to the functions that we know now. We know input and we know int. These are functions that we know. And then we're just going to take this whole input thing, cut it, and put it inside that int there. And the same thing here. We want to say when this comes in, that's right. I'll just delete that. When this comes in, it's an integer. And that way we can print the total and it's not going to give us that error because it's going to know that cookies is an integer and number of people is an integer. This leads to a different problem later. Every time I do that. MV, I have 200 cookies. I have 20 people. I printed int instead of total. Let's try that again. MV, 200 cookies, 20 people. So I have a total of 220. Now it should be able to divide, right? And I don't need to print the total anymore because it is doing a math, but I can check and see if we can each have total cookies here. So total is now going to get divided. We can each have total cookies. So if I run this, my name is MV. Nope. Oh, I have 200 cookies. There are 20 people here. We can each have 10 cookies, right? And if I change these numbers, it should work. The error here that we're not going to fix right at the moment is that if I put a random character in instead of just a number, it'll give me an error. So we could have a check for that, but that's going to require a few other things, which we'll do in the next video. So for now, get to this point where we have the input of how many cookies, and those are being converted to integers, and then save your program.